Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Bryan Billig. I am the head of customer education here at Assembly Software. And once again, I get to host one of these fun webinars. So I appreciate you guys all coming out and hanging out with me. But I am just crashing the party today because I have a very special guest with me, Jack McManus. How are you, sir?
Great. How are you? Good to
I'm
see
doing
all
all
of
right.
you. Yeah.
We've got a good crowd. I've got some of my favorite people in the audience here. So hello. I appreciate you coming back for webinar after webinar. So we must be doing something right. But today we're going to nerd out. And you might be asking yourself, how is that different than usual? Well, that's because we're going to be talking about data. And if you know me, you know that is one of my very favorite subjects to nerd out about. So real quick, some Zoom housekeeping, because we're going to keep this tight today. We're shooting for like 20-25 minutes. Let you guys maybe enjoy some lunch while you're attending and get back to it. If you have any questions, there's that Q&A button down at the bottom. That, as always, is the way to interact with us. Jack has a lot of cool stuff to share with you today. So we're going to try and answer a few questions as we go, maybe a couple at the end, but this one's going to be fast and furious. You ready, Jack?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So let me reshare my screen here. And as always, I narrate every button I click. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about advanced analytics. This is a new offering from Assembly that works directly with your Neo system. And it is so cool. Historically, for those of you that have been with us for a long time, you know that data and reporting has been at the very core of everything that we've done for decades. Back in the pins and early needles days, those reports were a variety of case listings of one type or another. Show me all the cases that X, show me all the cases that Y. And that has obviously advanced over the years. So many cool new reports and things to report on and data points to help you make sure that your firm is thriving. And this is all about taking that next step. We have moved on from obviously just the list of cases to advanced reporting, to the dashboards that were offered as part of Neo, so you can get an actual visual of what this data looks like. And today we're going to be talking about that next step, that next generation. So let's get into kind of, what does that mean? Well, if you are the person in charge of data at your firm, if you're the managing partner, the administrator of your Neo system, the office manager, that, head of the intake department or the paralegal and case manager team, or just attorneys that really have their finger on the pulse, this is important for all of you. Because at the end of the day, the objective is making sure that you have all of your questions answered and that your team has the resources that they need to get their job done. So if we're talking about data and reporting and analysis and figuring out what's going on in your firm, geez, you could slice this thing 100 different ways, but I like to break it down into two key areas. The first is your staff's efficiency and productivity, because that's what a law firm is. At the end of the day, again, it's people. It's people working hard on behalf of their clients. So do you have a solid understanding of your staff and their productivity? Which means, do you know who's assigned to what, how much they're working on, how effectively they're working on it, and do they have all of the tools necessary to do their job as well as possible? And there are individual reports that you can run to answer some of these questions, but we're going to talk about bringing all of that data together into a single place. The second is profitability. So If you're a law firm that's running well and is running Neos well, you're handling cases, you're bringing them in, you're managing them, you're getting them resolved and moving on to the next. But there are always areas where things can be improved. You can improve the efficiency, but you can also improve what's happening, the results. Are we bringing in the proper intakes? Are we accepting the right cases? Are we handling them as efficiently as possible? But also, are there things that we could be doing to maximize the results of the cases that we're handling? And the answer to that is almost always yes. There's always the ability to do a little bit better, to bring things up, to learn the lessons from your successes and your stumbles and apply them to future cases. So how do you answer these questions? Well, it's all data driven. That's the keys to the kingdom. And you've heard me say it on webinars from a variety of subjects that data is king. If you are using your Neo system, you have a massive amount of information to pull from. But if you pull from it properly, you can decide what to do in the future. And if you base those decisions, those strategies on all the data that you have in the past, then you're never going to go wrong. So advanced analytics is different. This is not the old school reporting or even the current dashboarding, because we're doing something very different with the data. And in order to do that, and feel free to jump in here, Jack, if you have anything to add on this explanation, advanced analytics doesn't utilize your current database. It uses something called a data lake. And what a data lake is the way I think of it is, well, you have a constant stream of data moving through your firm. And if you have all of these different streams and you put them into one place, you're going to end up with a lake. That's the metaphor. The reality of the situation is that your existing Neos database is, that's what it's called. It's a transactional database. It's singular. It is as of this moment in time. So how many cases do I have open right now? How many intakes do I have right now? How many cases are assigned to this person? What is the settlement value of that right now? So all of the reporting is as of this moment. Now you can get some historical stuff for things that have specific date stamps associated with them, but with a point in time database, all you can really report on is the existing structure of your existing database. Where a data lake is different is it's actually continually collecting the data, but not replacing it. The water is flowing in more and more and more. So think of your entire database and how big that is and how much data it has in it. That's today. But with a data lake, you've got today, and then you'll have yesterday, and you'll have the day before that, and the week before that, and the month before that. As long as you're collecting the data, once you start the data lake, it's capturing all of that information as you go. So you know, how many cases do I have open today? How many cases did I have open yesterday? How many cases did I have open last month? And apply that to every single metric that's important to you, because the data lake captures everything. And these things are massive. I mean, this is the stuff that mega corporations, IBM style corporations, they put together these data lakes in order to be able to report on anything today or at any time in the past. And we're excited as a part of advanced analytics to make the capabilities of a data lake, which is usually reserved for these mega entities, down to a law firm scale. All right. Jack, I said I was nerding out, and I did.
Yeah.
and Chris is shaking his head going, yep, that's Bryan. Do you have anything to add with what I've just shared?
Just one additional point on that data lake, and I think that you did a great job not encroaching on that explanation whatsoever. But I think, yeah, just another way to think about it is that, yeah, we are storing this mass amount of data, and you're storing the changes in data as they happen. So you're able to see the full life cycle of any record as it progresses, and that's what's really huge in providing that history of a record so that you can use that then to predict how similar records are going to act given the same circumstances. So I think that that's another way of putting what you've already mentioned in a way that is actionable and what will hopefully show in the next coming 20 minutes of this demonstration.
Thank you for helping translate my geeking out. I appreciate that. I get
Yeah.
carried away sometimes, but enough theory, enough concept and setup here. Excuse me. I'm going to take my share down. I'm going to kick it over to you, and you can show them the actual functionality because this is here and it's functional and it's amazing. So I'm kicking it over to you.
All right. Yes, I will share this now. And okay, great. So you're able to see my screen, right?
Looks good.
All right, perfect. So yeah, first I'll give some context before we go into the visualizations themselves. So what we're seeing here is obviously, as you've seen before, is Neos. But what we have is additional dashboards that are advanced analytics type dashboards. And so it's very important to note first off that you're seeing this within Neos. What we're providing is an additional product that you can access directly from your case management system. And that's very different from other things that we've seen on the market where it may be the case that other data visualization tools exist where you can access historical data, but it's not going to live inside your case management system. And that's always a risk when you're pushing data back and forth between different softwares. It's also somewhat of a hassle to have to navigate from one software to the next. Whereas advanced analytics, it's all available within Neos where that data exists. And so what we're offering as a result of this new product is 9 pre-built data sets that will include various reports and visualizations within Neos, and that's what we'll cover today.
And that is a big difference because right now we offer a lot of reports. The dashboarding and advanced search, all very powerful, but is up to a firm to build out. One of the things that's different here is this is being built by our data experts here and packaged for you, ready to rock with the bow on top.
Yeah. And what you'll see is the culmination of hours upon hours of research and conversations with different firms to really provide the most actionable insights and the most pivotal metrics for your firm.
All right, I'll try to stop interrupting. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate your insights at any turn. So I'll cover the basics, kind of what you see at the top of the report and just some general functionality. So for each visualization, you'll see a list of filters and sometimes these summary numbers. And what these filters are going to enable you to do is take a deeper dive into specific areas that you want additional insight on. So right now we're looking at the intake performance visualization. And so you'll see filters related to date open, stage, status, case type, and primary staff. So for example, this first filter, date opens, you're able to filter this visualization and get more granular into the data on when this intake or when any particular intake was opened. And you can use relative dates here. You could do the last 1 years or days, weeks, to really just give you what you want to see and filter out the rest of the data. And it's very important to note that these filters will provide you with the ability to manipulate these dashboards to exactly your liking, because we know that Neos is an extremely customizable software. It's extremely flexible. So everyone's going to have different case types that they have outlined. They're going to have different statuses and different class codes and value codes. that they're going to use to represent different things. And so that's why we're providing a list of different filters at the beginning of each visualization, so you can really get down to the data that you want to see. So like I mentioned, this first visualization that we're looking at is intake activity. And so this is going to show you how productive your staff is and how efficient they are at moving through the funnel from lead to close, or lead to evaluation to proposal to eventually close. And so you can track and monitor your employee and firm trends over time and make process improvements or identify areas of opportunity regarding those trends. You can also see in this bottom table the ratio of intakes that were referred out, converted into cases, or rejected. So you can act on those insights from the characteristic of intakes and their outcome. So let's look at this top table here, where you can see all current open intakes for the firm. And you'll see that this right now is sorted based off days open. So you can see that this initial primary staff has the most, or has case intakes open with the most days open. So that right there is something where you're able to see, okay, this may be something that I want to investigate and get to the bottom as to why this individual primary staff has intakes that have been opened over 160 days. But what then we're able to do even further is we can go into the status of these intakes and filter by agreement sent, agreement signed, in progress, and then see who has intakes that they're the primary staff on that are in each one of these statuses, see when those intakes were opened, potentially when they closed, and for these staff, what the percentage of closed, converted to case, rejected by firm, or rejected by client, and the overall case conversion percentage is. We could also then remove that filter and then go for individual staff. So I'll select Alina here, and then there was one other name that I wanted to search, Jorge. So we can see that for those two staff, there are 3 open intakes currently. And you can also go back down to this table here for staff intake activity and compare their metrics side by side. So Alina currently has 0 open intakes. She has closed 25 intakes in this year-long filter that we're looking at, converted 19 of those into cases to get a case conversion of 76%. So you can see those metrics.
That case conversion percentage, even when you had like the larger list of staff, is so important to be able to understand who's closing those intakes, turning them into cases, making it happen for the firm. That's a heck of a statistic.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, you're able to see that Alina's had so much success. So that may be someone that you want to attribute more intakes to in the future, or provide training potentially for others, or just elevate status of Alina as a result of all of that success. All right. So now we can see that that's very powerful, but now we'll move to staff case activity, where you're able to see individual and overall staff performance as it relates to caseload. And so you can see how your firm is applying staff resources, how many cases they've closed, on average, how long it takes to close the individual case types, the average days of open cases, and the average fees per staff. And so that's going to be huge, that you're able to see for any particular staff, all of the cases that they've worked on, what the average fee they're actually pulling in for the firm. And so we have another list of filters here, some slight differences, one of which that I wanted to call out is the firm fees filter. And to the point earlier that we mentioned, where everyone's going to have different value codes, everyone's going to have those different value codes that represent fees for the firm. So you could select or multi-select any of the value codes that may represent fees for your firm, so that you're getting the most accurate data. And then also we have staff name and staff role. And staff role is going to be another interesting filter that you can use if you want to just see maybe paralegals and the open cases that they have, how many cases they've closed within the parameters that we're looking, the average age of their open cases and the average days to close, and then the fees that they're typically associated with from a case. And so I'm going to filter by one particular staff here and show for Gil, who has been a high performer, as we can see, bringing in an average firm fee for his closed cases of $206,000. We can see that Gil has 4 open cases. He's closed 2 cases within the past year. His average days to close all time is 162 days. And then he's bringing in such a high firm fee amount. And so one thing that you could see here is comparing the average age of open cases to the average days closed or history, that maybe despite having sufficient and significant success, there are these 4 open cases that he's looking at that have been open for quite some time. And you can see that a couple of them opened near the beginning of our filter here. And so potentially wanting to investigate, for this high earner who's probably going to bring us in significant revenue, what we could do to help him, move those cases along and close those cases. And you could even select a class code to see where those open cases are so that you can know what might need to get done for those cases to close. All right.
But well, before you go, I love that chart at the bottom too. That one's so cool. That shows in one, metric. Was this the one?
Yeah.
With the open closes, I think you had it filtered for Gil. In one place, it shows current open as new ones are added, as cases are closed and brought down, and moments of firm fees, all in a single chart in one visualization. You can see what's brought in and what's cashed out in one spot. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And it's quite powerful in that, and different in that typically with Neos, and when you're using advanced search to create different reports, you're using one data object, and that's cases or staff or value entries. But with this, we're able to bring in 3, 4 different data objects and compare those in one succinct chart or table.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move to case inventory with insurance. So this case inventory with insurance visualization is going to highlight the firm's highest value open cases in regards to medical expenses. So the firm can prioritize and attribute any resources that they might need to these high value cases moving forward. And so you're going to get a full view of the medical expenses for a case with also the insurance minimum and maximum coverage for that client. And that's important because these 2 metrics are really going to provide important data for projecting the value of those cases and enlighten the firm on cases that probably they should be, prioritizing and focusing on in the coming months or years. And so what you could do is sort by high value to see these high value cases that are above the high value threshold of 123,000, those 5 cases. And that's another feature that we don't have currently in the dashboards that we offer, is this concept of thresholds, where anything above a certain amount, and this would be the top 10% of cases as it relates to medical expenditure, that in those cases that are above that threshold, highlighting those as high value and being able to sort based on their value and their distinction for this threshold. And again, so yeah, those would be the cases that you're really going to want to prioritize and allocate sufficient resources for. And then also within this visualization, what you're able to see is the age of every case, the average days to settle for that case type, and then these insurance minimums, insurance maximums, the medical spend, and whether it's high value. And then these 2 charts below, one being a table, one being a chart, are also extremely powerful in that you can see the cases in each particular class for your firm, the open count, the minimum and maximum insurance coverage, and the medical spend. So you can see here that demand preparation in particular, it has 33 open cases, so a significant amount of open cases. And then the minimum and maximum insurance coverage and medical spend are extremely high. So that may be an indication to the firm that this is an area where very high value cases are maybe being held up, and wanting to investigate that further and potentially changing workflows or changing pathways so that cases can progress through to completion, to settlement, to close, quickly through this stage. All right.
Bring us to my favorite.
Yes, this is Bryan and I's favorite visualization here. This is our settlement forecasting visualization. And this is huge, honestly, because now we're really looking into the future. We're using this massive amount of historical data that we talked about, the data lake, and using that to project future revenue for the firm. And that's all based on the data that we have on relevant cases. So this settlement forecasting visualization is going to allow you to forecast based on case type averages, the expected settlement revenue for the firm, as well as the expected days to settle for your open cases. So we're going to view case and the forecast status. We're going to see the future revenue targets and expected settlement revenue. So you can see all of these cases in this open or cases to settle tile. But I think I get excited about, and I think what Bryan gets excited about most, is these two tiles here at the bottom, the future settlement and expected future settlement revenue. So you're seeing here in this expected future settlement revenue tile for the next, 7 months, what the firm can expect in terms of fee revenue if these cases that are open were to settle for the case type average settlement amount and within the average days to settle for that case type. So this is going to be huge in that you can use these revenue projections to inform spending on future expenses, make actionable decisions for the business, and use this for reporting for anyone else in the firm. And really, these projections are blowing our existing reporting functionality out of the water, in that we're looking really at future state and using this historical data that we have to help project and forecast for your firm how much revenue you could expect from your open cases. All right. So anything else to add there, Bryan?
Just unbridled joy. I really love the forecast aspect, because so many times firms have to be reactionary.
Yeah.
Or waiting for that big case to settle, or that one, big settlement check to fall in, and then they can pay these bills and make that arrangements or buy that advertising or whatever. And it's very hard to make those sort of Q2, Q3, Q4 future decisions. And like we said at the beginning, this is all data based, and not generic data, but your firm's data. This is what you typically settle these types of cases for, and this is how fast you do it. So this is when you can predict, this income to come in. All right. So let's stop with those four. There is more, and I'll show you the full list at the end here. But let me go ahead and put our PowerPoint back up here, and I'll let you bring us home.
Okay, great. So just a few points to touch on before we end. So there's certainly a lot of power in these reports, and it's all driven by that data lake that we've mentioned many of times now throughout this webinar. But it is really important that you're able to use this functionality within our system and access that massive amount of data, of your own data, and use these visualizations that we've created and provide insights into productivity, efficiency, and eventually profitability for the firm. And one thing I did want to touch on is just generally speaking, the value that a data lake can provide and what the cost is typically for a firm to build this. We've seen it's really the starting price for a firm being $100,000 up to anywhere to $500,000, even more, to build this data lake for themselves. It requires a significant amount of technical expertise, support, and ongoing investments from an infrastructure and maintenance perspective. And so this product itself will be a flat fee of $5,000 per month for the entire firm. It's not a user-based pricing, and that's going to include your very own data lake, all the maintenance and support, and at least initially, these 9 pre-built visualizations that we've worked to create. There'll certainly be more to come, but that is what we're providing, and there's no upfront fees for setup. And then we do handle all the provisioning as well. So that's really it from what I wanted to cover. Anything else? Closing remarks, Brian?
Well, we do have a couple of questions. I know we're at time, but I want to answer a few of these. Jermaine has been very patient and asked about customization. Are the data sets customizable? Because so much of Neos is. So I'll snag this one with your permission.
Yeah.
So the visualization itself, our team is building and providing. So all of those different blocks of information that you saw, that's what they are. We're providing them, and you're not going to move them around. But as you also saw Jack do, you have the ability to filter and tweak that data. So within that specific visualization, if you're looking at intake data, you can look at intake data for this particular case type, that particular staff, this particular case type, that staff, and this date range. You can do all kinds of stuff to move the data around to find the information that you are specifically looking for, or clear those filters, take a step back, and look at that nice big picture. And between all the different visualizations that are offered and all of the different tweaking you can do within them, that should provide you a whole host of opportunities that you've never had before. And I want to, second what you said, Jack. This is just the beginning. We're launching with 9. They're already working on more. I did get a question about suggestions. Absolutely, because all of the stuff that we built so far has been based on firm feedback. We've been talking with some of our firms about this functionality and what data would be most helpful for them to see, and that's how this stuff was built. So we'll definitely be taking your suggestions about additional visualizations. And Diane asked a question, two-parter. Can these be exported or printed?
Yes, they can be. So there is the ability to export the data into an Excel file and then, certainly print it as well.
Awesome. And I certainly understand the exporting with some of like the singular reports that you wanted to combine with something else. But a lot of this stuff is such living, breathing data. By all means, export, save, share as necessary, but the goods are right here in Neos. And the second part of her question was regarding security. If you have all this data, do we have the ability to lock it down to specific users?
Yes, we do. So we have permissioning where you're able to enable the visualizations and the functionality for individual users, because we realize that it is, much of the data is financial. It's not something that you want everyone in the staff to be seeing. So we do have permissioning based off users.
Oh, and I got to give Jermaine credit because they know their data. They asked the question if this is powered by Power BI. And one of the advantages, and I've talked about this in the past, of us using the Microsoft network and framework to build everything that we do, it gives us access to all the Microsoft tools. So that's why you get the OneDrive and the SharePoint and all of the power that goes with it, the integration of Microsoft Word and Excel and Outlook and all of those things that tie so naturally into Neos. And yes, that includes their Power Business Intelligence. So that is part of what you're signing up for, is access to that, all nicely packaged within your Neo system, and the accompanying data lake to store all of the necessary data to populate this information. All right. Let's call it there. Jack, any other thoughts before we go?
No, I mean, just, yeah, if you're interested in learning more, we have this email here. Please contact sales. We can do personalized demos, answer any other questions that you have. We have the list of visualizations here that you're able to see. And like Brian mentioned, we'll be building this list out certainly in the months to come.
Awesome. Jack, thank you so much. I enjoyed hanging out. We haven't gotten to do this before. This was wonderful.
I know. Yeah, no, it was fun.
And for all of you that attended, thank you so much. I promised to keep it quick. We went a little over today. Again, not unusual for me. But again, thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the rest of your week. I'll leave this up for a minute, but we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, everyone.